Let's work on our fretting hand technique today. I want to show you 6 exercises today that will get your left hand, in my case, into great shape by eliminating and correcting common problems, bad habits and technique mistakes. It will only take around 10 minutes of your time, and the effects on your guitar playing and technique will be huge if you complete today's video. The following exercises will make it possible for you to play awesome legato licks with hammer-ons and pull-offs like that. And an efficient fretting hand technique will make it possible for you to play songs and guitar solos that you only dreamed about playing so far. Let's get to work. The first really big and common mistake I'd like to address today is not working on all fingers equally. Obviously, we all have stronger and weaker fingers, and I really wish that working with my pinky finger would feel exactly the same way like playing with my index finger. So it's really important not to neglect certain fingers or finger combinations by always working with the same 2 or 3 exercises in every routine. Here's a really helpful workout with a twist that challenges all of your fingers. Quick side note before we get to the really important twist with this exercise. I recorded a 15-minute legato play-along video workout for patreon.com/Bernd, including scrolling tabs, guitar profiles, audio backing tracks and PDF tabs. Just 1 week of practicing this extremely effective workout together with me will have huge effects on your technique already. So back to the first exercise. The most important and often overlooked detail of this exercise is that I'm lifting the first finger just a little bit when I don't have to use it. So my index finger is not fretting A on the 5th fret on the low E string for the entire duration of the workout. This is a very common bad habit that I've encountered with my own playing and with a lot of my students as well. Really pressing down with your index finger or with your middle finger when you don't actually need them at the moment for your hammer-ons and pull-offs results in a very stiff and not exactly economic motion. So this really helpful first workout will train all of your fingers if you make sure to make each note audible and equal in dynamics. The second big issue and frustration I keep hearing about is generating unwanted noise by touching surrounding strings with your fingers while you're playing. Of course, this is especially problematic when you're playing with distortion. As you could see and hear, that sounds pretty bad, and a big uncontrolled motion like that stands in the way of getting that super clean, fast and well-defined sound that we're all after. So let's take the previous exercise now and place it on the G string. Now you have 2 strings surrounding the one that you want to play on, and you don't want to touch them or make them ring in any way. So with this exercise, I want to make sure that you're not just practicing your hammer-ons and pull-offs on the lowest or the highest string. As soon as you work with a sandwiched string, so to say, it will become much more challenging, but you will need this extremely often. Let's move to topic number 3. Another bad habit that I'm also guilty of is not working on transitions between shapes and positions that much. When we think of finger exercises, we mostly have something like that in mind. So these classic workouts that only focus on a very specific section on the fretboard are very helpful, of course, especially when you're starting out, working on your technique. But as soon as things get more practical, you will have to switch between different scale or arpeggio shapes to build interesting licks. And of course, you don't want the listener to hear whenever you're switching between different positions. This is an example of how fluid transitions can really improve your sound. With this one, I paid close attention to connecting the shapes and making it sound as fluid as possible. Here's an exercise for you that's not only extremely fun to play, it will also help you with introducing more connected legato lines into your playing. So unlike the very popular exercises that only focus on one position, you're switching between 2 shapes right here. Please focus on really connecting those two fingerings when you work on this. It shouldn't sound like playing two separate shapes at all. This will greatly benefit your sound and phrasing. We barely scratched the surface. The next topics are the most important ones on this list. And it makes me really sad that you constantly keep missing exercises like this because you're not subscribed to this channel. Only around 25% of you are real members of this guitar community that get the maximum results by staying up to date. So make sure to join this awesome practice environment today by subscribing. The next extremely important topic concerns the area of your fingertips that you are using when you are playing, with special focus on hammer-ons and pull-offs. You actually don't want to work with the fleshy parts of your fingertips right here. It will be much easier if the string comes in contact with the area close to your fingernails. Not only will it be easier for you to avoid touching other strings that way, it will also be easier to build speed and a super clean technique. Here's a great and quite challenging exercise for that based around the B and E strings. As you can see, it's very beneficial for my control, sound and string transitions to work with the described area of my fingertips. So once again, I'm not using that kind of flashy part of my fingertips right here. It's much easier and more efficient if the string comes in contact with the area close to my fingernails. Of course, it does take a while to adapt this with your playing, but please make sure to include that in your practice plan and to experiment with this, especially if you're guilty of the flat fingers problem that we discussed in an earlier video. The next and probably most important topic of this list is about moving your wrist when you're playing and about the angle of your wrist in general. This becomes a big factor as soon as you start to play more complicated lines across all 6 strings, like with this full legato scale exercise. Please pay close attention to my fretting hand right here. I don't change the angle of my wrist at all when I'm playing across all the different strings, and I maintain the same position for the entire scale. I'm basically just moving my hand up or down. So it doesn't look like this, for example. It's really hard to get consistent and clean results out of a technique that looks like this, and speeding up this kind of motion feels almost impossible. So if your wrist angle is constantly changing when you're playing like that, you will get very inconsistent results. Aside from touching other strings that you actually don't want to play on with a big motion like that, your playing will work and sound relatively good sometimes if the angle somehow matches what you're doing, and you won't really be able to figure out why you're struggling with certain lines sometimes and while it works other times, so very inconsistent results. So one of my biggest tips that made a huge difference with my own playing is minimizing hand movement when you're playing exercises like that. So please focus on keeping the same wrist angle with the following workouts and don't adjust the angle with every single string transition. Here are the next 2 levels of this exercise that are featured in the full Patreon video play along workout. For today's last and really important topic, I'd like to talk a bit about the transition to a more practical sound and playing style. So this is not that much about technique mistakes or bad habits, it's a bit more about practice mistakes. So I think it's a great idea to also include challenging, practical and creative sounding licks in your practice routine when you work on your fretting hand technique. This will make you sound less like you're practicing your workouts as soon as you start improvising with legato lines over backing tracks. So by working with actual licks at the end of your practice routine, while still keeping a close eye on your technique of course, you will slowly unlock many amazing creative possibilities with your playing as well. So now that you know about all these very common fretting, hand technique mistakes and bad habits, it's time to actually practice today's workout so that you get the most amount of progress out of your daily routine. Make sure to download all of your files for today's video on patreon.com/Bernd, including the really awesome 15-minute Legato video play along workout, and start practicing all of these really important exercises together with me from now on in your practice routine. If you're still not a real part of our guitar community here on YouTube, make sure to join us right now by subscribing to help us with reaching our community goal of 1 million subscribers. Thanks a lot for watching today's video until the end. That really helps me out a lot. Make sure to leave a like in case you enjoyed it, or a comment in case you have any further questions for me. I will see you again in the next video. All the best and have a lot of fun practicing until then.